Hey guys, well this is a video that has been requested and I've been wanting to do it for some time, and today is going to be the day, and that is the topic of food. I always say that the biggest expenses for most people are housing, transportation, and food usually. And housing is, it's not easy to keep it cheap, but the advice is usually straightforward, like get a roommate or live with someone, don't buy a bigger house than what you actually need, and I guess maybe live a little far away and do a commute to keep those costs down. But that's really it. It's not super complicated. There's not a million things you need to know. Same with transportation. Don't buy a gas guzzler. Try to get a used car. Maybe try to share one car and bike commute if you can. But that's really kind of the end of it. You can fit all the advice on a postcard. But food is a little more tricky, I think. It's kind of 1,000 little ideas that can help to keep food costs down. And I think we've done a pretty good job of it. I'm kind of proud of our food expenses. Our budget is something like about $7 per person per day, and that includes restaurants. Our restaurant budget is about $1.50 per person per day. Comes out to $50 per person per month. So on about $5 per person per day, we eat very well, and I want to kind of show you how we do it and some of the things. It's been a work in progress for a long time, but I want to show you some of the ideas we've come up with and give you a tour of my kitchen. This video will be a little longer than some of the other ones because, like I said, there's no single silver bullet for keeping food costs down unless you just want to eat very boring food for the rest of your life. So I'm just going to kind of ramble a little bit and wander around the kitchen in my house and sort of show you what we've got. All right, so let's see. Here is just a quick overview of what our kitchen looks like. We try to keep our housing expenses low by living in a pretty small house, and because of that, our kitchen sucks. The last house that we lived in had a much bigger kitchen than this one, and it was it took some creativity to make it work as well as the kitchen we had before. In fact, I think this kitchen is actually more functional than what we had in our bigger house. But it's a pretty tiny space, as you can see, so we've done a bunch to try to make the most of it. The very first thing that I would say that has made the biggest impact on our food spending is getting a separate freezer. The standard freezer that comes with a normal refrigerator, it blows my mind that there are families of 4 or 6 that just share a single freezer like this. It's not possible. It's like, not if you're trying to like actually freeze all the stuff that you want to. It's just not enough space. So when we bought something like this, it was a real game changer. We started with a chest freezer, but then we upgraded to something that's upright so we can really easily access everything that's in there. The two big things that the freezer can do is, number one, when you get a good price on something, you can just buy a stupid amount of it, and it'll keep for a very long time. So for us, that's these vegetable pot stickers at our local international store are freaking amazing. We make those, and we mix them with some soy sauce and brown sugar, and it tastes absolutely as good as they are at a restaurant if you cook them properly. And we go crazy with leftovers, and we don't even really call it leftovers anymore. We call it meal prep. When we cook something, we intentionally, if it's really good and pretty easy to make, we try to make at least 8 portions at a time and put them in these containers for later. In fact, most of the time, the way that I'm able to eat a meal that only costs $1 is I'm lazy and I just reach in here and I microwave something that I already made weeks or even months ago. We actually only cook a handful of times per week. We just cook a lot when we do. Another thing that was a big upgrade for us was getting these deli containers. You might see these if you get like Chinese takeout in your egg drop soup or something like that. They'll put it in these. You can collect those from the times when you go to restaurants. What we ended up doing eventually is we went to webstaurant.com, and you can buy like 50 of these bad boys for like a couple bucks or something like that. They're extremely cheap compared to other Tupperwares. And what I love about it is the lids are universal. Even for this larger size, it's the same lid. So and they stack really nicely. It really prevents being annoyed by Tupperwares. It's just very easy to quickly portion out like 10 servings of some giant thing that we made. So yeah. And another thing is you can kind of adjust your freezer or your refrigerator to try to make it so that you can perfectly fit exactly 2 or 3 of these, trying to use the space really well. But yeah, I think that's all for our separate freezer. You probably get the idea. But this was the big innovation. This was what made eating meals that only cost like $1 or $2 and don't suck really possible. Because we don't have time or really feel like cooking every single evening. It's just, it's not a good use of time. I like trying to make a whole bunch at once. Okay, what else do we have in here? I'm just going to kind of do the tour. So we... The closest thing we had to a pantry when we bought this house is this stupid thing. And for us, that is not a pantry at all. That is a joke. So we obviously have it filled with stuff, though. So all our Tupperwares, look how compressed that is. Just tons of these bad boys. But we made the most of this space that we could, but most of our stuff was not able to be stored here. Although we did get, on that Webstaurant website, check out these awesome giant containers. So this is all of our rice. We just buy a giant sack and throw it all in there. Grab it as we use it. But, and got my trash can down here. I like having a large trash can with a lid that covers everything so we don't have to change the trash as often. That's less work and fewer trash bags. So, but getting this Metro rack in here was a huge... Oh, hang on. I work at Jimmy John's, so obligatory Jimmy John's in the corner, right? That's also where I got a lot of my frozen meat, is when they slice the meat, there's a little bit left over at the end, and I just take it home, cut it up, throw it in one of these things. I got a whole bunch of them that are called, like, ham or whatever. I didn't pay for this. Got it for free. But anyway... For a lot of our storage, we've got this crazy Metro rack thing. And it's not a coincidence that all this stuff kind of perfectly fits. We just played around with it and figured out, okay, like, how tall do we want the one that's holding all the canned goods to be? Well, you know, enough to stack 2 cans and comfortably reach in and get them. Same with this air fryer. We also made the bottom level just barely tall enough so that the Roomba can... sweep down there for us every morning. So the Roomba does a fantastic job of sweeping this place up while I take my shower in the morning. This bad boy, I am a really, really big fan of having an air fryer. I think it's probably my favorite kitchen appliance overall, because of the speed. If I come home and I have a tough day at work or something, all I've got to do, if I just want to get some calories in me, is grab some French fries, pour some in the basket, and I literally just turn this dial and turn it to about 11 minutes, and I can walk away, and when I come back, it'll be done. Works very, very well with things like frozen potatoes. I have frozen meat that's pre-cut into smaller pieces. I can just dump a bunch in there and just run it for like 4 or 5 minutes, and it's perfect. I love this thing. I really like the basket style ones. It's so little work. And cleaning's pretty easy too. I just run a bunch of water in it and then dump it. We just used it this morning, so it's got a little bit of potato in there. We also keep a blender over here. Yeah. Not much to say, really. It's just a bunch of storage. We kind of have our categories that we've decided for where everything is. We try to make the snacks really easily reachable. But, you know, there's probably a bunch of right ways to do it, right? And another big upgrade that we did was this cart that we got. There just wasn't enough counter space in this stupid kitchen to make a meal. Not with some of the appliances that we like to have. Like, this isn't a super important appliance, but I enjoy having it. By the way, I didn't put in much of an effort to make the kitchen particularly clean, so you're kind of seeing what it looks like on just an average day, really. I think I gave it like 10 minutes of love before I shot this, something like that. But anyway, this table ended up being a really, really cool feature. It's where we end up doing most of our prep work. So you can see that we've got all the sort of things that you would want to have for doing prep. So we've got our little containers. So I like to call these prep bowls sometimes. So if we're making a recipe and we're kind of doing two-player mode on it, Mary might be doing some of the cooking or the measuring. And if it calls for onions, I don't even care how many onions it is. I'm just pulling out like 3 onions, cutting them all up, and I'm putting them in these prep bowls. Because what we're going to do is we'll use the amount of onions that are needed for the recipe, and the rest will still be in this bowl. Most of the time when we cook something that requires onions, I do not need to chop onions because they've already been prepped. And you can actually see that in here. I know I'm kind of going all over the place with this one. Sorry about that. But yeah, onions, green peppers, and carrots. Those are 3 things where every time we need some, we just try to prep a whole bunch of them and put them in these containers and get them in the fridge so we don't have to do it next time because we use a bunch. By the way, for prepping carrots, cut them up, put them in one of these containers, but fill it with water and they will keep for way, way, way longer. We also do the same thing with like sodas. When there's a good deal on soda, we buy a lot. Just try to fill this thing up. A full fridge is a functional fridge, in my opinion. Anyway, back to here. But yeah, I just try to have a little bit of everything on this little cart. We've got measuring cups, some prep bowls, just so we don't have to coordinate so closely. Like I can just cut the stuff up and put them in separate bowls. And we also have an additional drying rack down here, which is really nice. And this is another feature that I'm very proud of, is our super duper over the sink drying rack. This thing has been a serious game changer. So number one, if I'm just using something a little bit and it doesn't really get dirty, I just give it a quick rinse and turn it upside down on this bad boy. And there's no rush to put things away because we have so much storage space for things that are drying. It's very nice. Like, I probably won't actually end up putting this teapot away. It's just the next time that I run the kettle and make some tea, I'm going to pull it from here. So it's really nice, not only as a way of being able to dry a lot more stuff than a traditional drying rack. All the stuff drips directly into the sink so it doesn't make any mess. And we oftentimes just, like I said, we just pull stuff straight from here. So like, yeah, this prep bowl, you know, when I'm making a meal, I might just pull from there and then use this thing if it's dry. But I really, really like having tons of space for drying stuff. It's been kind of a game changer for me. The way I built this is it's just 1-inch PVC, and we've got the T-joints over here, 2 more of them over here, and then 2 of them here, 2 of them here, and then some elbows at the top. I guess that's what you call them. I don't really know. Yeah, just buy a bunch of PVC and some PVC cutters and screw around. The end caps aren't even necessary. They just make it look a little bit nicer. But it's pretty easy, and you can, again, it's no coincidence that this drying rack is the exact perfect height for our faucet. That's because I made it that way. Really cool. It would be hard. It was a lot more expensive trying to find custom stuff that was the right size. Also, we upgraded our faucet to a, I just went online and typed in industrial faucet because I wanted something that could rinse the dishes as fast as possible, and man, this was a huge upgrade. So really happy with our nice faucet that gives us a lot of space for rinsing dishes and some pretty good pressure. I also recently insulated our hot water pipes, and we have a hot water tank for our hot water, but it's pretty close to the kitchen, and man, did that make a difference. With the insulated hot water pipes, this thing can get instant hot water. As long as you've run it in the last 40 minutes, it can get instant hot water the same way that a tankless water heater could. So that was kind of a cool upgrade. Not super important, though, I guess. Microwave, gas stove, oven, blah, blah, blah. That's probably not super exciting. Let's see, what else can I talk about? Okay, so you probably got the idea logistically. When something's on sale, we buy a lot of it. We know what we like, and we store and cook a lot of it so that it doesn't end up requiring effort every single day. But another thing that we did is we got really organized on our recipes. So I just got a bunch of these like little plastic, these aren't laminated, but it's like the same material as a laminated sheet. And you just slip the paper inside of it, and then I stapled it in so they would stay put. And this is our recipe book, where everything is already labeled by page. And I actually have a spreadsheet that lists each recipe's name and what page it's on. So if I want to cook something, I just go on the spreadsheet and I'd go Control F. And if I type in, like, I don't know, soup, it'll spit out at me all of the pages that have a soup on it. And what's cool is these are all laminated and they're all numbered. So what I do is I just go into my room that has this stuff and grab whatever recipe I need and pull it into the kitchen with me. I also have my own modifications on it, and I try to do all the measurements in grams instead of cups and stuff because I like just using a scale. I think it's faster. But you can just write that on here, which is really cool. And then when I want to go put it back, I already know the page. It goes after page 72. So that's kind of cool. Let me show you another thing that we've got. This is our storage room, so it's a bit messy. We don't try to keep this room nice. If we had a garage, this stuff would be in the garage, but we don't have one. We live in a pretty small space these days. But this is where a lot of our overflow bulk dry goods goes. So, and you'll notice more of these nice containers from Webstaurant, where we've got like a lot of our beans and stuff like that. Just random crap that, like, if there's something that we need for the kitchen, but we aren't going to need to reach for it for the next probably 2 weeks, it lives here. Just kind of overflow crap. And another really important appliance for us is our pressure cooker. That is what makes all this crap possible, because all you got to do for dry beans is just run it in the pressure cooker for somewhere between 35 and 40 minutes, and you'll get cooked beans the same as what you would get from a can, but you can buy so many beans for so cheap all at the same time. And yeah, it's not a huge inconvenience. It takes about 45 minutes to get the dry beans going. So if we know we're making something that needs dry beans, we'll just run the pressure cooker and then go like screw around for 40 minutes, do something else, and then come back and actually start making the meal. It's not a ton of work. Also, we got the really big one, which allows us to make about 8 or 10 servings of something at once if we want to do a double version of some of our recipes. All right, let me head back to the kitchen and see if I've got anything else to add. I think that's most of it. Oh, this is probably obligatory. A little hobby of ours is hydroponic gardening. So, might be fun to show you what our setup looks like these days. If your goal is to save money on food, growing your own hydroponic vegetables is probably not the first thing I would suggest, but we do it mostly as a hobby, but it does pump out some very high quality produce. Our big specialty is kale. We go through massive amounts of kale because you can make salads with it, but you can also saute it and add a crap ton of nutrition to whatever you're cooking on the cheap. And I just run in here and clip some when I'm about to make something. Our latest project is we're trying to grow indoor tomatoes in February. So that's exciting. We'll see how that goes. This is called a Tiny Tim tomato. It actually doesn't get a whole lot bigger than this, which is pretty nuts. We're trying to get some high quality tomatoes year round because I do not like waiting till summer for it. Got some cabbages going back there too. We'll see how that ends up. Anyway, let me head back to the kitchen. All right, so just going to share a few other cool tricks that we have. One of my other favorite appliances that we have is called the Pasta Boat. This thing was like $10, and all you got to do is add pasta, add water, and microwave it for 13 to 15 minutes. And I promise you it's just as good as making pasta the normal way. It's kind of nice because you can walk away from it. You don't have to wait for the water to boil. The microwave will automatically tell you when it's done. It's just very quick. I actually bought this thing a very long time ago, and I still use it all the time. I have not made pasta the traditional way in ages. We also really like these Walmart super cups, these really insulated cups. They are very, very nice. Anytime I reach for a cold beverage, I drink it in one of these. We have a bunch of them. Just don't get the ones that have the paint on them. That crap will flake off in the dishwasher. Try to get one that's all metal, but they are very nice. What else? For our cleaning, I think I made a video some time ago about a lot of the cleaning stuff that I learned. We mix our own all-purpose cleaner, and this is the recipe for it. And recently, I love this stuff so much, I just mix a ton of it all at once so I don't have to screw around with it. But between this all-purpose cleaner and just having some microfiber cloths, this is what I use to clean like 90% of the issues in our house, and it works very well. The microfibers are able to kind of grab whatever crap is on here, and then you just rinse it in the sink, and everything's pretty darn clean. So yeah, pretty happy with our cleaning routine in the kitchen. I generally try to do a good counter wipe before I cook anything, and it actually doesn't take that long with that stuff. All right, I think this is the last thing I've got for you. So another thing that we do is, as far as our grocery shopping goes, we probably only actually go to a grocery store maybe once or maximum twice per week, something like that. But when we go, we try to get all the stuff that we need at that grocery store to last us at least a couple weeks. We kind of buy it in bulk, as you can sort of see. Like, we recently did a trip to Aldi and Walmart. Well, Aldi has the best potato chips. Walmart has these are freaking awesome. Walmart absolutely has the best tortilla chips. The chili garlic are so good. So we just get a ton of them because I don't feel like driving to Aldi or Walmart again for a couple weeks. But anyway, this is another cool trick that we did, which is mixing a healthy, cheap home ingredient with an expensive, fancy, difficult to make on your own store ingredient. So this is some Indian trail mix that I got at an Indian grocery store, but I combined it with some of my homemade air-fried chickpeas. So first I cooked these in the pressure cooker. I don't know if you can see it. There we go. I cooked these in the pressure cooker, starting with dry chickpeas, and then I just put some oil on them and ran them on kind of a medium temperature for like 30 minutes in the air fryer. I didn't even season them. You know why? Because this Indian trail mix is freaking spicy. So by adding some chickpeas to it, I made it more nutritious. I made it cheaper per serving. And now I have like a third more of it. So a really cool trick is kind of finding something that I like, either at maybe a restaurant or a grocery store, and then finding a way to like bulk it up by adding my own ingredients to it. Maybe there's a restaurant, maybe there's a Chinese place where you really like their chicken and broccoli. Well, cook the white rice yourself and double the amount of food that there is. That sort of concept. So I really like doing that, trying to bulk up food in an expensive form to turn it into a cheap form. As far as budgeting goes, we try to budget something like $1 to $2 per serving for meals. For snacks, my budget is something like 50 cents per snack. So any of the snacks that you see here, one serving of it would cost about 30 or 50 cents to have one. And for beverages, we try to keep the cost of a beverage under 25 cents, except for alcohol, because that's sort of impossible, although boxed wine kind of helps. All right, I think I'm kind of rambling and running out of cool ideas. This is another thing. We have all of our spices stored on the wall to try to save space. Same for some of our pans. We got 2 non-stick pans. These are OXO. And man, OXO makes some good stuff. We paid pretty good money for these, but I no longer use eggs or butter or oil when I make my eggs. You can just do it on the frickin' pan. So I try to take really good care of these and use them mostly only when I'm making eggs, but man, they're amazing. I don't even mind hand washing them because all the crap comes off them in like 2 seconds. Really good stuff. I guess I can end with what our other freezer drawer looks like. This is our small freezer. I like to keep some frozen vegetables on hand, so when I'm cooking, I can just grab a bag and throw a handful or two in whatever I'm cooking, and, you know, just other crap. We also really like to freeze bread. Bread holds up really well when you freeze it. So if there's a bread that I like, I'll buy a whole bunch of it and then just cut it up and freeze it and grab 1 or 2 pieces at a time. For reheating the bread, I like to put it on the George Foreman because it's a little slower and more thorough than a toaster oven. Or I'll just microwave it for like 15 seconds if I'm trying to get it soft again, maybe eat it with some olive oil or something like that. Anyway, I think that's about all I've got for you, but as you can tell, it's taken a lot of years of kind of innovating to get to the point that we're currently at with our food, but I love it. It's very low stress. Most nights I don't have to cook anything and I don't have to run to the store in an emergency or anything like that. It's nice and organized. I'm very happy with it. It was actually a lot more stressful back when I was in my early 20s, where every night I was just trying to figure out, how can I get a cheap meal tonight? Like, do I have a coupon for a restaurant, or do I have to make spaghetti again or whatever? I don't stress about food anymore. It's nice. And really, I guess what it came down to was working at Jimmy John's really helped me because I took a lot of my inspiration from there. They run a very efficient kitchen where I don't have to walk around to get stuff very often, and they're just already well stocked on everything I need. And I kind of tried to mimic that in my own kitchen the best I can. And personally, I think it's worth it. If everything's pretty organized, man, when I do cook stuff, it's fun. And when I'm not in the mood, I've got about 100 choices for what I can throw together to eat. All right, thanks for watching. I know this was a long one.